Hey, non-resentful brother! Jay, in the wizarding world, there are all sorts of fantastic happenings and magical creatures. Literal unicorns and flying broomsticks, but by far, the thing that I find the most unbelievable was that the Dursleys hated Harry so damn much. Let's take a look at these people. It's an aunt and uncle who, at the bare minimum, are almost like providing the charity of taking in their orphaned nephew. Which means at some point in time they must have been non-horrible enough just to allow that to happen. And when they take him in, he is still a baby, and I don't care who you are, but who can resentfully raise a baby? Especially the baby of your recently murdered sister. Jay, I can assure you that if a dark wizard ever takes you and Beth down, I promise I will happily raise your wizard kids. I'm definitely putting that in the best man speech somewhere. But babies are just way too much trouble for them to not be at least a little bit rewarding. Evolution hadn't been so smart and included a cuteness factor for newborns. I think most parents just would have thrown in the towel about on the third night without sleep. That's probably not true. But still, when we were introduced to the Dursleys, they would have raised this boy since he was an infant, and even though he has no idea that he's a wizard, and despite the fact that he is their own flesh and blood, they absolutely hate the kid. I mean, I can get on board with dragons and invisibility cloaks and giant spiders and literal giants and goblins and all the other wizarding stuff. But I do not buy that they wouldn't love him a little bit. Like, who and how? It's not even possible to hold a grudge against somebody that long when that person didn't even do anything to you. I know, it's perplexing, but don't worry, there is an explanation. It's all Harry's fault. This is gonna be a spoiler, so if you have not finished the series and you don't want to know, just stop watching right now. Okay. If you're left, you already know that Harry is a Horcrux. And does anybody know what Horcruxes do to you if you are too close to them? In the big series finale, Harry, Ron, and Hermione are going around hunting down all of these Horcruxes, and if you remember, they had to take turns holding the locket because it was just getting to each and every one of them, making them angry and irritable and causing fights and all sorts of other problems, and that was only being around it for like a few weeks or months at max. Then there's Ginny with Riddle's diary. She basically has it for a year and nearly dies at the end of it. Now, not to worry, there's also an explanation as to why certain Horcruxes affect certain people more aggressively. For example, the locket that Harry, Ron, and Hermione have, they are actively trying to avoid the effects of the locket on themselves, which means they are like mentally resisting the problem. While Ginny, on the other hand, was so connected to the diary that she had become incredibly vulnerable to it, to the point where the diary and Riddle were actually able to kind of control Ginny, and that's how they opened the chamber. Basically, Horcruxes literally exude evil. Back to the fact that the Dursleys did decide to take Harry off of their doorstep back when he was a baby, and like we said before, thanks to evolution, babies are adorable. You just can't possibly actually hate them. It could be that the Dursleys were taken by the young lad and the adorableness of his little baby self, which would explain why they would keep the boy to begin with instead of sending him off to adoption. And their vulnerability towards their young orphaned nephew would allow the Horcrux, which is Harry, manifest their hatred towards Harry. Because isn't it a lot more understandable that the little fragment of Voldemort's soul that was in the Horcrux that was Harry would want Harry to be treated miserably, knowing, or maybe not even knowing, that it would be highly unlikely that anybody would ever figure out that he was hiding there. So then think about it. The Dursleys lived with Harry for 10 years. If you think about it, they practically deserve a medal or something. The silver lining would be that if they did actually happen to kill him after all of those years, they would have been the only muggles to destroy a Horcrux. That's a resume builder if you ask me. So for my question of the day, what do you guys think? Is this a possible explanation as to why the Dursleys hated Harry so much? So leave your thoughts in the towel section down below. Also, I need to give a lot of credit for the idea of this video to Tristan, who is a writer for Dorkly. I will also leave the link to his original article in the description down below. But Jay, that is everything that I've got for you today, man. I will see you on Tuesday.